Friday morning, October 25, 2019. And good morning, everybody. This is Arnie, and welcome once again to your favorite show on Podcast Nation. How about that? Well, maybe one of them. Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. And we got a lot to talk about this morning. We got Game 3 coming up tonight. Last night, though, let's just talk about what went on in the world of sports. Not much. Not much at all. Week 8 kicked off the NFL week last week. We had the Redskins going to Minnesota, and in that game we had the Vikings winning 19-9. It was a Dalvin Cook kind of game. Just real quick, we'll go through some stats. Kirk Cousins, he was a pretty good, efficient passer last night. 23 for 26 for 285. Dalvin Cook, 23 attempts, 98 yards rushing. He had a touchdown. That's a 4.3 average. I tell you, a kid that goes under the radar a lot is Alexander Madison. He rushed 13 times for 61 yards and averaged 4.7 per carry. Receiving, Stephon Diggs, he went off. 7 receptions, 143. Dalvin Cook caught 5 for 73. The rookie, who was a hot item on a lot of waiver wires, but just didn't really perform that well last night, Albasi Johnson, he went 2 catches, 27 yards. Vikings 19, Redskins 9, and so for the Skins, not a lot there. I tell you what, they look pretty good, efficient running the ball early. Adrian Peterson only carried 14 times, did get 76 yards, a 5.4 average last night. But the Redskins, they just don't have enough oomph in that offense. Case Keenum threw the ball 16 times, 130 yards. Terry McLaurin, the leading receiver, as is expected. But look, he only caught 4 balls for 39 yards. So I think the spread on that game was 15 points. So if you took the Skins and the 15, way to go. If you gave the 15, well, you're already down 1 going into the weekend, because it was a tied game at halftime. These Thursday night football games, okay, tell me if you agree with me, they just don't have the energy. They just don't. Overall, I wish they'd do away with Thursday night games. Okay, give me another Sunday night game. Give me something if you want to make a primetime game, but don't give me Thursday night. It just doesn't seem to work. And you think about it, you're coming off a Sunday game. You've only got 3 days, full days of rest. These guys just aren't ready for it. I don't think they're ready for it physically. I don't think they're ready for it mentally. And I think it shows. So if you struggled to watch the game last night, join the crowd. It was a good effort by the Redskins, but not enough. They come up short, losing to the Vikings 19-9. So let's turn our focus now. Phil Chaplin did a great job last night going over the football fantasy. Good to have him back. I was a guest last night, Chappie. I was not able to log into my laptop, but he had a good crowd in the chat room. Good morning to Corona Cyclonus. Good morning to Donkey Okie. We're going to talk baseball now. I want to go over some of the events of the day. Did you catch the press conference with Brian Cashman and the question about why did he pass on players like Garrett Cole? And you could just see, good morning, Corona. Thank you for chatting in. You could just see the blood vessels in his neck getting redder and tighter and bigger. I mean, it really ticked him off. It really did. Maybe it hit a nerve. And they were talking about the fact they didn't sign Corbin, they didn't sign Garrett Cole, and you can go through all the excuses in the world, but the bottom line is the Yankees were just outbid on those guys. But it appeared to me by watching the press conference, and if you haven't watched it, go back and take a look. It really struck a chord with Brian Cashman. And frankly, I think he's missed the boat. I think the ship has sailed. They're hanging on to Gary Sanchez. I think that's a mistake. What's he done when it matters? And he'll go a month and not get a hit. I mean, really. So, I mean, for the Yankees to say, we're hanging on to Gary Sanchez, mistake, okay? And then not going after these top-of-the-line pitchers, mistake. And it proves it. I mean, the first decade since the 1900s, the first full decade, the Yankees didn't make the World Series. And I think it's all because you can attribute it to they don't have an ace. And they have intentionally, and you can say they don't want to go over the luxury tax. I don't care what you say. They have intentionally not signed a stud pitcher. And because if they had wanted to, they would have. It's like anything you do in life. You do what you want to do. You know, if I want to go out tonight, I go out tonight. If I want to stay home tonight, I stay home tonight. I do what I want to do. The Yankees do what they want to do. And then he said, you know, well, if we had signed Patrick Corbin, we wouldn't have signed DJ LeMahieu. I don't know about that. I don't know. But I do know the biggest need the Yankees have had the last 3 or 4 years has been needing an ace number one starter. And they have dropped the ball. And I think responsibility lies in the front office, in the general manager. Aaron Boone did a great job this year with what he had. I have no complaints. It's just, instead of going out and signing hitters, let's go out and let's get a stud pitcher. Let's give it a shot. Because the old theory, you know, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Well, they've been doing the same thing over and over, and they're expecting to win a World Series. It hasn't happened. It won't happen until you get a stud pitcher. The Yankees are not going to win a World Series. And I don't even think make it. There's my 2 cents. You can get these editorials anywhere you want them. Andrea, good morning. Good morning. I just went on my rant about Brian Cashman. I'll move on to something that's more pertinent. So here we go. We want to talk about a birthday boy today. Yeah, it's Juan Soto's birthday. That's right. Juan Soto turns 21 years old today, and now he's going to play Game 3 tonight at 8 o'clock at home. And so, first of all, what if he homers tonight? Well, he'll be just the 4th player to hit a birthday home run in a postseason game, and the second to do that in the World Series. Colton Wong hit a homer on his 25th birthday in Game 2 of the 2015 National League Division Series, and Evan Longoria hit one on his 28th birthday in Game 3 of the ALDS for the Rays in 2013. The only player to do it in the World Series, remember Royal star Willie Mays Aikens, the left-handed slugging first baseman? Well, he hit one in Game 1 of the 1980 World Series. In fact, he hit 2 in that game on his 26th birthday. So tonight, let's see if Soto can continue. You know, he's hitting .571. That's 5 for 9 in the World Series. He hit his home run in Game 1 when he was still 20 years old, the 4th youngest player in postseason history to homer in the World Series, trailing only who? Are you ready for these names? Miguel Cabrera, Andruw Jones, and the immortal Mickey Mantle. He also became the 2nd youngest player to homer in his World Series debut, trailing only Andruw Jones. Remember, Andruw in 1996, and what a year he had that year. In 1996, Andruw Jones went through single A, double A, triple A, major leagues, all in the same year. In fact, that year, I watched him play single A ball when he was playing for the Durham Bulls. And at every level, he owned everybody. Gets to the World Series, first 2 at-bats at New York in Yankee Stadium, home runs. You knew the kid was going to be good, right? Well, those are the 3 above him who were younger, homering in a World Series. Soto also, this is the Soto moment, okay? We're going to give him some kudos because I'm feeling the World Series MVP here. Soto also had a stolen base in Game 1. The youngest player in postseason history to homer and steal a base in the same game. Prior to that, let's give homage to the one, the only, the great, next year in the Hall of Fame, Derek Sanderson Jeter. Jeter was 22 years and 105 days old in Game 1 of the 1996 AL Championship Series when he homered and stole a base in the same game. Soto, 2 years younger. Well, not quite 2 years, but he was 20. A third factoid about Mr. Soto. In game one, he had 3 hits, 2 extra base hits. The second youngest player with multiple extra base hits in a game. Again, trailing only Andruw Jones, who was 19 when he did it, by the way. So, lots of facts about Soto. Tonight, we've got Greinke and Sanchez. Okay, so let's first talk about the Astros for just a moment. They're down 0-2. I mean, they haven't hit, haven't pitched especially well, and now you're on the road, down 0-2, going into Washington, where they've never had a playoff game. I can only imagine the atmosphere tonight in D.C. Can you? I mean, it's going to be crazy. So here they are down 2-0, and they're going with Zack Greinke in Game 3. That's right. Zack Greinke. First of all, in all best-of-7 postseason series, teams having a 2-0 advantage have gone on to win 71 of 84 times. In the current 2 home, 3 away, 2 home format, teams winning games 1 and 2 on the road have gone on to win 22 of 25 times. Each of the last 10 teams to grab a 2-0 lead on the road has won. And that's included 6 sweeps. One this year. Washington beating St. Louis. That's a real warm fuzzy for Astros fans, huh? And they're sending Greinke out there. Who has a lot of confidence in Greinke saving the ship for Houston? I have none. Now, I was on Tuesday morning predicting that the Astros would lose with Garrett Cole on the mound. I told you Tuesday morning Washington was going to win the World Series. Nothing has changed since Tuesday morning. In fact, if anything, I'm more confident of it now than I was then. And one of the big reasons is, and true, Washington's starting pitching down the line is better than Houston's. Their hitters are more clutch. And they don't choke when they get behind. Look, they should have been eliminated by the Brewers. Do you remember? They're behind in Milwaukee. Hader comes on to close it out. Down 2 runs. And they rally. Not against me pitching. Not against Andrea pitching. But they rally against Josh Hader pitching. Don't you know that they thought at that point, hey, we got something going on. And then they go and play Los Angeles. The winningest team in the National League with all the great pitchers. Been to the World Series the last 2 years. And they own the Dodgers. Absolutely owned the Dodgers. Right, Mike Helms? I mean, that's what happened. So, then they go to St. Louis. St. Louis clearly inferior, and it showed. Now they're playing the Astros, a great team. But the Astros, here's my take, peaked, absolutely peaked against the Yankees. And now they're coming down. Tanner Rainey. Look at that bullpen. I just talked about the starters. Andrea, you're right. Tanner Rainey, Doolittle, Fernando Rodney. That bullpen has really come on. And now that they've gone with, okay, those 3 are your setup guys. That was not the case that long ago. All right? It wasn't long ago that Doolittle was your closer. But the Nationals went and made a change. And they put Hudson primarily in the closing position. And Daniel Hudson has pitched incredibly well. If you note, though, in Game 1, Doolittle does get the save. But you used Rainey, who was not as effective in Game 1. He walked a couple of batters, gave up a home run. But has pitched well in the playoffs. Hudson, Doolittle, Fernando Rodney. And, I'm not a big Rodney fan, be honest. But I give credit where credit is due. He has pitched extremely well. So I said a moment ago, I think the Nationals' starting pitching is better. I think the Nationals' bullpen is better. I really do. And what about what happened yesterday with the Astros firing their assistant general manager, Brandon Taubman? And do you know the story there? Well, at the Yankee series, Taubman was being asked questions about Osuna. Osuna, the closer, had some issues involving domestic violence. And it was reported by a Sports Illustrated reporter, Stephanie Epstein, that Taubman unloaded degrading women and making light of domestic violence. Defending, I assume, in an effort to defend his player. The Astros come out publicly and say, that didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. Well, thanks to social media, it was proven that it did. And so, higher up Astros than Brian Taubman, assistant general manager, they have egg all over their face. But let me tell you something. A few things I was taught as a boy that still hold true today. A lot of things. One of the things I was taught as a boy is you never, ever degrade another human being, and you never lay your hands on a woman inappropriately. Ever. There's no excuse for it. No tolerance for it. I have none. No one should. And the appropriate thing for the Astros to have said when asked about it was, we will look into this, and we will take appropriate action if whatever is required. They didn't. They denied it. And so Brandon Taubman is the fall guy. No, he shouldn't have said it. He was wrong. He probably should be fired. But I don't think he's the only one. I don't think he should go down the only one. I think Major League Baseball needs to look into this. There are other things that have been done, I'm sure, that have been looked into, investigated. And this comes on the cusp of Game 3 with the Astros down 2-0. Like they need another bad distraction. Aren't the Nationals enough? Point being, look, with the way, just like this podcast, whatever you say, there's a good chance with all the forms of social media, it's going to get out. If I come on here ranting and raving, using foul language, degrading people, guarantee you, before the day is out, someone, my family, my church, my friends, you guys on the podcast, you're going to know about it. It's going to change your opinion. You may not agree with my position on sports. That's why we have podcasts, right? That's why we get on here and we listen, Andrea and Corona and Timothy Hooker and others who get on in the chat room. That's why we listen, because we can disagree. Tuesday there were those who didn't agree with me, thinking that Washington was going to win Game 1, and that's okay. Not how we are in the United States of America. We're respectful of other people, even if they are different than us. So, egg on the Astros. I don't know what the final result of this is going to be. Truly, I don't. But you can rest assured this isn't over. And the firing of Taubman, I don't think, is the end of the story. We shall see. Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, I think Hudson is a closer next year. And if you're in a league where you are buying closers and bidding on closers, is he a $15 closer? I mean, how much do you... First of all, are you someone to bid on closers in fantasy? First of all, Washington, great starting pitching, so they're going to win a lot of games, meaning he's going to get a lot of save opportunities. The only thing that concerns me about spending on Hudson is what they did in Game 1. No, I like it in reality. I hate it for fantasy. Davey Martinez mix and matches who he looks to close games. Now, if you're in a holds saves league and you're buying, he's great. Because if he doesn't get a save, he's going to get a hold. But the way he did game one, Doolittle got the save. So I can see him mixing and matching that position next year. Now, I'm not sure of Doolittle's status. Maybe I'm overspeaking here. I don't know if he's a free agent or not. I really don't know. I need to check on that. But assuming Doolittle is still there, and Davey Martinez is still there, and Hudson is still there, the way he's been doing it is rotating that role. I think if they do rotate the role, you can get him for less than $10. And also, I think it might depend on when in the auction his name is called. All right? I don't think he's in the category of Asuna or Chapman or those guys. I just don't. But I think he certainly could be worth a good buy. And are you looking at what? 20, 25 saves? Even if he shares the role? Sure. What if he doesn't share the role? 40, 45. Huge. And, Doolittle also, if you remember, went on the IL this year for a little while. And so you got to look at that risk factor, which is another factor in favor of Hudson. Rainey, that bullpen, I love them. The lineup, I love it. I just think you're going to be partying in Washington this weekend before the weekend is over. I don't think it ever goes back to Houston. If you've bought Astros gear for the World Series or want to, I think you better get it now. Here's a question for tonight. Will Jordan Alvarez, with the right-hander starting, will he start in the outfield tonight? He has been primarily only a designated hitter this year. So A.J. Hinch has got to look at how does he feel Alvarez will fare in left field. And the old saying, you put a guy in the field who can't play the field and the ball's going to find him. If he is in left field, I can't wait to see how it plays out. I mean, he may do a great job. Okay? But A.J. Hinch has got a really big decision to make. Anibal Sanchez, right-handed pitcher. You'd love to have that left-handed bat in the lineup. I guess what you would do is you'd have Alvarez in left. You'd move Brantley to right. So you're going to move two players out of position, basically, in doing that. But good call to say, good morning, John. How are you this morning? Good to see you in the chat room. Talking Nationals, talking Astros. Alvarez went 1 for 22 in the ALCS. It did look as though his first two games in the World Series, he had better plate appearances. He walked in game one. He went 2 for 3. He followed that with another hit in game two, so he's got 3 hits in the World Series, 3 times more than he had in the ALCS. He could have had 2 hits on Wednesday, but remember, there was a shift on, and Asdrubal Cabrera robbed him on a ball that had an exit velo of almost 100 miles an hour. Still no power in the playoffs, but he did have 3 hits, 3 singles, and certainly that's better than where he was in the ALCS. So with the improved at-bats, it makes the decision really a tough one for A.J. Hinch. I say he starts. I say you don't have much of a choice. You're down, if they were up 2-0, I'd say he probably wouldn't start. But they're down 2-0. And they're not scoring and they're not hitting. And you got a hitter here who's had 3 solid hits, possibly a 4th one. You got to put him in the lineup. And so I think he starts tonight at the expense of, say, Josh Reddick. I think Reddick sits. You're right, John. I'm sitting here predicting the Nats. But I've said also there are a few occasions when teams have been down 2-0 and have come back and won. And the Stros certainly are equipped to do it. The problem is every game now, I think, is a game 7. I think they have to play every game from now on as if it's elimination day. Because frankly, if they go down 3-0 tonight, how many teams in a World Series have come back from a 3-0 deficit? I'm just asking. I can't remember one in the World Series to ever do it. I know one time it's been done, and I don't want to talk about that, Andrea. Well, I will. 2004, the Red Sox were down 0-3 to the Yankees in the ALCS and then won the World Series. I believe that was the first time an 0-3 team in baseball had ever done that. I don't think it's been done since. So what can the Astros do, since we're on this topic, to put themselves in a position to win? Well, first of all, they've got to hit with runners in scoring position. They had a .495 slugging percentage in the regular season, but they have been on a treadmill all postseason. If you think about it, in the ALCS, they really didn't hit the ball well. They had timely home runs by Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve, who hit walk-offs against the Yankees. But otherwise, they've not come up in the clutch with runners on base. Check this out. Houston hit .268 with runners in scoring position in the regular season, but they've slumped to .175 in the playoffs. 17 for 97, including 127, 8 for 63, since the start of the ALCS. They were 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position in their Game 2 blowout loss to the Nationals. You can go through stretches like that in a 162-game schedule. You can't do that in a 7-game World Series. Think about some things Washington has done that Houston hasn't done. Remember last game, it was the small ball. It was the walk. It was the bunt. It was the chopper that Bregman couldn't field. Houston's got to put the ball on the ground and make Washington make plays. The little things. Altuve thrown out trying to steal third, just ahead of a 2-run homer by Yuli Gurriel. Bonehead. That could have been a 3-run homer. In Game 1, George Springer didn't run hard out of the box on a fly ball down the right field line that hit the wall and resulted in a double. Had he reached third and hustled on that ball, he would have scored on Altuve's fly ball. The little things, the mental things. And you would expect the Astros to be doing these things, and frankly, I'm surprised they're not. It's almost like they've lost their focus. It's almost like they've relaxed since beating the Yankees. And they can't do that. They've also, third, got to get big outs out of their bullpen. I said it earlier. Andrea mentioned in the chat room. Look, the Nationals bullpen is outperforming the Astros bullpen. Hands down. In the last game of the ALCS, Game 6, the Astros used 7 relief pitchers, held the Yankees to 4 runs in 9 innings. Gritty and clutch. There you go. But in Game 2, in the loss to Washington, they gave up 5 earned runs and 7 hits and 2 homers in 3 innings. In 3 playoff starts, Greinke has pitched past the 5th inning only once. And that came in Game 1 of the ALCS, in which he gave up 3 runs in 6 innings against the Yankees. He lasted only 4 1/3 in Game 4 of the ALCS. And the Astros are likely to have a bullpen game in Game 4. I don't think they should. I think Garrett Cole should start on short rest because I think they're going to lose tonight. And I think the bullpen's going to be taxed tonight. I don't think Greinke goes past 5. I don't know if he gets to 5. The bullpen has got to come through for Houston tonight in order for them to win Game 3. Presley, again, I said it Tuesday. I don't know if he's still hurt, but he struggled. Osuna, Will Harris, Joe Smith, they've got to come through. Houston's bullpen, 4.69 ERA in the playoffs. A run higher than it was during the regular season. So those are 3 areas. Houston has got to pick it up and move it along if they're going to have a chance. I won't be with you till next week, till Monday. I'm going to say by Monday the World Series is over. And we'll be talking about free agency. And we'll be talking about how Washington won the series. But if Houston can win game 3, I could be wrong. Houston can win game 3. I'd come back with Cole game 4 no matter what. If you can tie this thing up at 2, it's anybody's series. Anybody's. And if they tie it up at 2, momentum back to Houston. But my prediction is that doesn't happen. Let's see. Thank y'all for being with me today. I got to get going. Those in the chat room, want to look at our schedule today. And let's see if there is, I don't know what the schedule is on Friday. This is it, right? So I guess you can rewind me all day long and you can play me all weekend and see how right or how wrong I really am. I'll be back with you Monday. Lenny and Andre are still traveling. You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. We'll see you Monday on Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports.